watching the legal breakdown. So Glenn, we've got some more news from Trump-aligned Judge Aileen Cannon. It seems like she is again moving to benefit Donald Trump. Can you talk about her unorthodox decision in court?
Judge Aileen Cannon has just sort of virtually torn up the case schedule again, delayed matters yet again to the extreme advantage of Donald Trump, because the last thing he wants is to go to trial down in Florida before the November election. And this time, Brian, what she did is really reinforcing of the fact that she has no business presiding over Donald Trump's case. What she has done is say, you know what, I want to have some more hearings in this case. And specifically, what I want to take up at an evidentiary hearing is Donald Trump's claim that the special counsel has no lawful authority to be appointed or to investigate or prosecute me. Here's the thing about that, Brian. The special counsel and its precursor, the independent counsel statute, has been affirmed by the court, including the Supreme Court, over and over and over, dating back to 1988, and as recently as in litigation surrounding January 6th. And remember Paul Manafort, Donald Trump's criminal campaign chairman? He directly attacked the special counsel statute under which Bob Mueller operated, and the courts said basically, Paul, be quiet and go away. This has been, okay, that's my spin. They didn't exactly put it that way. But this has been resolved by courts over and over again. Stop with the frivolous motions. In substance, this is a settled question of law. However, Judge Cannon not only wants to set lengthy arguments on it, but it gets worse, Brian, because she has granted the request of outside parties, parties who are not part of this litigation, not only to file what are called amici or amicus briefs, which is a friend of the court brief if some outside party has some burning interest in saying, wait, there's this one unique aspect of the law here, and we would like to offer, Your Honor, a brief on it to the extent it might be helpful to you in resolving this question. But she's actually said, guess what? Those outside folks, come on in and present oral arguments to the trial court. That is a special kind of judicial insanity. Brian, I spent 30 years in courtrooms, both military and civilian, both trial court and appellate courts, and both local courts and federal courts. Not once in 30 years did I ever see a non-party invited in by a judge to give oral arguments in a hearing that they are not a party to. That's judicial insanity. I've been surveying some of my friends who are also, longtime experienced prosecutors. They've never heard of it. I'm not saying it has never been done in the history of our criminal justice system. I've never encountered it, and it's just yet another data point that proves that Judge Aileen Cannon's impartiality to preside over this case might reasonably be questioned, and that's the language of the federal statute, 28 United States Code, Section 455. If a judge's impartiality might reasonably be questioned, she must, by law, remove herself, recuse from the case. Of course, she has violated that federal law over and over and over again, and I would suggest she has just violated it once more.
So there's two issues at play here. One is that she continues to push back the schedule in Jack Smith's request to impose a partial gag order, and the second is that she's inviting all of these, who I'm certain are going to be pro-Trump voices to present arguments, even though they're not parties to this case, arguments in court to try to sway the jury one way or the other. I can imagine which way that's going to be. But I want to talk about the gag order for a moment. Isn't it the whole point of a gag order that they have to be dealt with some urgency, given that the whole point of one is that they are inherently preventing the defendant from saying stuff that he or she shouldn't be saying?
Yeah, I've been so consumed with her, let's say, unorthodox decision to just let a bunch of what some of the news agencies are reporting as right-wing lawyers come in and make these arguments in favor of Donald Trump, even though they're not parties to the case. I've been so consumed with that. You're right. The other piece of it is she's basically at a leisurely pace taking up Jack Smith's request for a gag order. And he basically filed it under sort of an emergency circumstance. Why? Because Donald Trump was endangering FBI agents by lying and saying that they were preparing to assassinate him and hurt his family on the day they executed the search warrant at Mar-a-Lago. And the truth is, and we saw this in court filings from Jack Smith, the truth is that the FBI and the Department of Justice coordinated before the execution of the search warrant with Donald Trump's lawyers to make sure they would be there on the grounds at Mar-a-Lago to execute that search warrant on a date that neither Donald Trump nor any of his family members would even be in the state of Florida. And then Donald Trump said they came there to try to assassinate me and hurt my family members. What does that do? It puts a target on the back of every FBI agent that, is just trying to enforce the laws of our nation. So Jack Smith said, we need an emergency gag order in place. And, Judge Cannon just sort of gave it the back of her hand, and she'll set it for some robust argument in the future.
Well, not only that, she actually tried to sanction Jack Smith for having the audacity to put forward this motion when, a judge of all people should be able to see through this bullshit way easier than the usual Fox News host. I mean, she knows that A, Donald Trump wasn't even in the state, B, that this is just standard traditional language that force is able to be used in the execution of a search warrant, just like it was used in Joe Biden's search warrant, just like it was used in every search warrant that moves forward. But she just fell for or continues to perpetuate this right-wing narrative that's being propped up by the gateway pundits of the world, these right-wing provocateurs of the world.
And she threatened to sanction Jack Smith for the following reason, according to Judge Cannon's ruling. Before you file a motion, you are required to confer with opposing counsel. I've done it hundreds of times. What does it look like? You call up opposing counsel or send an email and say, hey, I'm going to ask that the court put a gag order in place. Will your client agree to the gag order such that maybe we can bypass the court? And not surprisingly, Donald Trump's attorney said, no, he won't agree to a gag order. He's not going to stop running his mouth. And we oppose the motion. So what did Jack Smith do? He put in a footnote in the motion itself. We've conferred with counsel. They said they oppose the motion. Oh, and by the way, they don't even want to confer with us or talk with us anymore about it until like a week or so down the road, because we have the Memorial Day holiday weekend coming up, and why would anybody want to protect FBI agents in a timely manner? At which point Jack Smith said, conferral over, here's the information. She actually said, Jack Smith, if you do that again, this sort of summary conferral without the defense having adequate time to mull it over and ruminate over it a week or more, I may sanction you. Again, this is judicial, if not misconduct, pretty gross abuse of what a judge should be doing, how a judge should be handling these issues.
Let's finish off with this. To that exact point, it does seem at this point that Jack Smith has all but given up on seeking her removal. I mean, he's had more than enough opportunities from the 11th Circuit rebuking Judge Cannon before this case even really took off. Her perversion of the Presidential Records Act, where she would have given basically the jury instructions that comported with Donald Trump's bogus interpretations of that act. We have her pushing the case back, in the trial date back indefinitely, even past a date that was proposed by the defense. And now we have stuff like this, where she's allowing, randos basically to just come in and offer arguments to the court. And then, of course, her inability to impose a necessary gag order, even if it puts members of law enforcement's lives in jeopardy. Doesn't seem like he's going to budge on this issue. Would you agree with that? Do you think that this ship has effectively sailed as far as Smith is concerned?
Yeah, sadly, I would agree with that. And that excellent overview, that summary you just gave of some of Judge Cannon's lack of impartiality really should all be put in a motion to recuse, and it should be litigated in the full light of day so we can get the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals to definitively rule on the issue, so at least we can have some confidence in the outcome of the case at the end of the day. If the 11th Circuit decides that no, the law says that she can still preside over this case because her impartiality can't reasonably be questioned, then at least I would have more confidence in the outcome of the case. But it was an excellent summary, and frankly, I would love to see all of that put into a motion to recuse Judge Cannon and have that filed and litigated.
Well, we will continue to stay on top of any updates from this Florida trial, as well as the other prosecutions that Trump is contending with right now. For those watching, if you want to follow along and you're not yet subscribed to both of our channels, the links are right here on this screen. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
And I'm Glenn Kirshner.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown.